Gregor Green.
Behind you. No, that's what was mine.
Mr. Lamb.
Here.
Ms. Lau.
Here.
Mr. Michael.
Here.
Mr. Shaughnessy.
Here.
Ms. Shear.
Here.
And Mr. Spicer.
Here.
Okay.
Rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, I forgot to check. So your birthday was yesterday, right? Was it?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
happy
happy
birthday.
birthday.
There's some cookies over here.
What is a cake?
Yeah, why doesn't make a big?
Priscilla was,
You didn't bring it.
Priscilla was supposed to make the cake.
You didn't bring it.
Where's the baklava?
I forgot to check if anyone else's birthday is in
For
March.
discussion function.
But anyway, okay, can I have a resolution to go into executive session for? Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously passed. Let's go to red. And we are back in public session. There's no resolution coming out of executive session. So the first item on the agenda is public participation. Is there any member of the public who would like to address the board? Any member of the public to address the board? Okay, we'll move on to approval of minutes of the February 19th meeting. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion and second. Are there any corrections or discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes of February 19th, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Hearing none, it's unanimously approved. We're now on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Catalino?
Thank you, Mr. Shaughnessy. First thing we have tonight on our superintendent's report is our Crosby Elementary School principal, Ms. Kathleen Sickles, will give us her building report.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here tonight. I continue to be honored to be part of the Crosby community, the Crosby family. The core of my work so far has been just to play a large and small part or support in a large or small way every teacher, every student, every day. So that's my motivation. That's why I get up every day. My areas of focus since I began a year and a half ago, there are many, and I'll touch upon these a little bit at the beginning, and then I'll go in more depth a little bit later. But building a positive climate just starts with the relationships that I work hard to build, and that's with teachers, with students, with parents, with community members, with stakeholders. And I work hard to help teachers to build those relationships with kids and families as well, and vice versa. So that really is the core of how good teaching happens. So that's where I've been spending a lot of my energy. The next part is differentiation in ELA and math. We have ongoing PD that's been happening this year, both pretty much at faculty meetings. I've been utilizing the instructional coaches to really dig deep in where the resources are and to bolster what we already have at center time. So that's where we're spending our time, is in ELA and in math, differentiating those centers. And I see it in the building. We'll continue that work. We have another couple of PD sessions coming, so I'm looking forward to more of that work as well. The next part is Writers' Workshop. I'm really proud to bring Writers' Workshop to Crosby. When I started at Crosby, one of the things, the main thing that teachers had said that they had needed support in was writing, and that was hands down. So I did a lot of research. I want to thank Stacia and Dr. Oliveto for supporting me and supporting Crosby in bringing Writers Workshop, professional development, and the materials to Crosby. So we started last month, and it's very exciting. We have a staff developer that is from Columbia University, who was a staff developer with the Teachers College Reading Writing Project. She's phenomenal, and it's created a huge buzz at Crosby as far as writing goes. And it's desperately needed, and we're really excited about where the writing is going at Crosby. So stay tuned on that. For bullying, that's one of our SEP goals. I want to give a public shout out to Leanne Namias, who's our social worker. She has worked tirelessly to build a tiered program to help students, to provide supports, to provide outreach. And we have some exciting things I want to show you at the end on how we have created a culture of good attendance at Crosby. And then I'll go back to bullying. With the bullying program, we have PBIS, we have restorative justice circles, and we also have, we did an in-house survey to try to put our finger on the pulse of what kids need to know more about bullying, what they do and don't understand about what it is and what it isn't. And I do have some information, interesting information that I want to share to kind of show you that we're moving in the right direction. And off it goes. What I do? Okay, hold on. Okay, so I'm going to dive right into the SEP goals. The SEP goal for our ELA was by June 2020, 53% of all students would reach an SGP of 50 or above. And how are we doing with that? We are currently at 52.1, so I am confident that we will meet that goal. I want to also thank Dr. Oliveto for helping me to understand and pull reports and look for trends both in school-wide, classroom-wide, student-wide to see where we can best put our resources to move student performance in the right direction. So I want to thank her also for that help as well. So what's next? Writers Workshop will continue. I'll give you a little information about that in a minute. We have been providing opportunities for vertical conversations with gen ed teachers and especially special ed teachers. They have found that time very helpful, useful, productive, so that they can take our curriculum and modify it for the students that are, to meet them where they are academically. So it's been very good time and spent. And continuing with that differentiated centers. I'm thrilled to have the instructional coaches work with us to help the teachers to move that forward as well. So with Writers Workshop, we had a professional development series in February, and tomorrow and Thursday is the second round, and we have another one in April, another one in May. And it's a wonderful opportunity for teachers to get together. So tomorrow morning, half day, kindergarten will get together. Afternoon will be first grade. And during each of the sessions, we'll start with a meeting about where we are, where we need to grow, working in the units of study in writing. And then in the middle of it, there is a lab site. And what that is teachers, the professional development person, the developer, goes and teaches a lesson, and the teachers watch. So the staff developer is teaching the teachers how to teach Writers Workshop in the most efficient, effective way that leads to the most productivity at the end. So, and then we come back, we meet, we talk, and then they bring that back to their classroom, try it, and now tomorrow they're going to meet again to see how successful it was and where they struggled, and then we'll have more conversations. So it's great, it's half day. It does give time for grade levels to have conversations together, which is exactly what we need. So I'm really excited about that. And it gives the special ed staff as well time to collaborate, to spend time on how to best serve those kids with the curriculum, to modify it so that all students can learn. And continuing on with the literacy focus, we, again, this year are having a literacy celebration. Last year we had it as well. Many of you attended, and I do appreciate that very much. It is continuing this week. Friday, we will have another gallery walk where many parents come through. It's a great opportunity to see what our kids are up to, both in reading and writing, so please stop by if you can. Before 2 o'clock is best, because we start to break down after that. And at 2:30, we'll have a culminating flash mob in the gym to finish our celebration as a Crosby community. So it's a lot of fun. We look forward to it. So for our math step goal, by June 2020, 48% of all students will reach the SGP of 50 or above. We're currently at 47.2. I feel confident that we will, again, be able to meet that based on current trends. What are we doing? We are sharing instructional best practices at faculty meetings. Each faculty meeting has a slice broken down so that teachers can talk about best practices, share resources, talk to each other, and also invite each other to come in and observe in the classroom to see what good instruction looks like. So we've had a lot of opportunities for that, and teachers are opening their doors for others to come in and take a look, so it's really exciting. Also, those vertical conversations in both math and reading are happening for gen ed and special ed teachers, and we'll continue the differentiated centers. The other piece is the STEM component, and there's some really wonderful things that are happening. I had Stevie Kraft come in last week or 2 weeks ago. He did a simulation of westward expansion using the Minecraft platform for fourth graders, and it was a wonderful way for kids to put themselves in that frame of mind in a way that they can relate to in that gaming situation. And they were very excited. It's the most noise I've heard from a computer lab in a very long time. And I got some feedback from the teacher who facilitated it. He said it would require a lot of planning, but it's worth the work. So more to be heard on that. I'm sure that we'll be looking more into bringing that back to Crosby. Also, coding and Ozobots, we've done a lot of work with Chris Juan and Mike Searcy as well. So they've come in and teachers have requested them to come in and do some coding with their kids. They're always making themselves available for STEM work, so we appreciate them as well. So the survey goal for Crosby was for bullying, and we are hoping by June 2020 that it will just decrease the perception of bullying by 10%. And we have done some work there that is worth discussing. And one of the things we did was an in-house survey. Some of the students had some trouble understanding the questions on the DTSDE survey, so we had trouble figuring out where to help them or what to do next about that. So we did our own in-house, and we asked them several questions, and we asked grades 1 through 4 only. And we asked them questions like, to be bullying sometimes need to happen, is it one time or more than one time? And kids now know that it has to be more than one time, because then otherwise they would call everything bullying, and we're trying to teach them that bullying is a repetition of events that happen when you've asked them to stop and they continue. So we're continuing that education so that they understand what it is. Another question we asked was, bullying involves equal power between people or someone having more power? And they get it, that one person in a bullying situation has more power, where they didn't quite understand that. They seem to understand it based on their answers to the survey. The other thing we did was we picked examples of bullying to kind of get a sense of what they understand bullying is and isn't, what types of things. And it looks like we're doing well with students understanding that teasing or name calling is bullying, talking about hurting someone is bullying, if it happens over and over. Hitting, kicking, punching, again, bullying, and then taking someone's things or breaking someone's things is bullying. Something that we're going to work on based on the results. Kids need to know that leaving someone out on purpose is bullying, so we're going to talk about that to make sure they understand that exclusion is a form of bullying. Getting back at someone for something they did, that is also considered bullying. Scaring someone on purpose, spying on someone, or following them. So those things we understand based on the responses, but those are areas that we just need to inform students that those things are considered bullying as well. So we're going to address those the next time we have the students get together. And that will be for our peaceful school bus. And we'll roll in school bus behavior, school behavior, and a kindness theme throughout that to kind of lend all of that information and roll it into a cohesive assembly. And then another one is bullying ever okay? Yes or no? They understand it's not okay. What should you do if someone you know is being bullied? And the question was nothing, stay home, bully that person too, or tell an adult, and overwhelmingly, tell an adult, they get it. And where can it happen? We asked anywhere, only in school, only in your neighborhood, only on the bus, or only online, and they understood that it could happen anywhere. So I think we made great strides in teaching kids what it is, where it can happen, how to identify it, and we still have some work to do, but I'm pretty happy with these results. We'll give this again at the end of the year to see if there's any growth going forward. So this also is a poster that's everywhere in our building. It is it's in every classroom, it's in every school bus, and it also gets sent home monthly to the parents. And what it does is it gives us an opportunity when there is conflict between kids. We go through, is the student being rude? Is the student being mean? Is the student being bullied? And and we can talk about it, parse it out, and decide what it is, so that we can again give opportunities for kids who are having troubles to be able to identify what it is and that if it is or isn't bullying. So for social emotional support, we provided faculty PD with to support struggling students, helping students live with trauma. So it all comes down to those relationships that that I started this presentation with. Students need to feel safe so that they can learn. They have to feel that they're loved, that they are cared for. They have to feel the compassion and concern. So we start every day with morning greeting of some sort. Sometimes it's a high five, sometimes it's a fist pump, sometimes it's a dance. Each class has their own version of that. We can get the temperature of how a student is doing based on how they're received in the classroom. Then we have our morning meeting. We can parse out some other things if there's something there that we need to address. Then we deploy our resources if we feel that a student is in need of and is looking like they're going to escalate. We can catch it before it happens. And we also need we've also done some things like some breathing techniques, yoga, those types of things to help students to regulate. We also need to understand what behavior is. That's usually symptomatic of something underlying. So we've been talking a lot about how to identify that and understanding that a student doesn't want to come in angry. That's just their response to something that's happened in their world that we need to understand better. And bottom line, we need to love them. They need to feel the love from us. So that's our job as educators, to make students feel safe and loved. And this is just something that every time I read it, it gives me a chance to ground myself in how we think and talk about and to students. And it's when little people are overwhelmed by big emotions. It's our job to share our calm, not our chaos. And it's pretty self-explanatory, but it has to happen so that those relationships can continue and that students can feel safe to come to school and attend to the academics that we're trying to impart. So, this is how I'm working to build a positive school culture. This is our new Crosby mascot. He's in the process of being named. We introduced him at our winter carnival and again during lunches a few weeks ago. The kids are absolutely in love with him, as are all of us. We're in the process of naming him, so we're in the middle of a naming contest right now, so you would not believe the names that some of these kids came up with. It's adorable. But that's coming soon, so we'll have a name for him shortly. Some of the other things that we've been doing is we have student council that right this minute they have put hearts around the building with positive sentiments on them. And if you come on Friday, you'll see them, they're still up. It's just so heartwarming to know that students wrote them, and they're from their own heart, and they're all over the building. It kind of gives you a sense of what the character of the students are. It's really wonderful. We do restorative circles for kids. If there is a conflict, we make sure that all of the students are made whole again and that they can learn from and continue to foster friendships and relationships going forward. I do lunch with the principal so that I can have students get to know me and I can get to know them better. My job is to be visible and approachable, which I work hard to do every morning, afternoon, lunches, anytime students need me, I'm there. And I really do, I've asked teachers to make positive phone calls and send home postcards monthly so that each student is getting something positive from the school on a regular basis. And I really want students to come to school feeling like Crosby is a fun place to be and a fun place to learn and grow. So that's really my mindset. So everything I do as far as building culture is kind of in that. So to build a positive school culture with teachers, I want you to meet the Woo Woo Wagon. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's something that I introduced last year. It's filled with snacks and treats, sweet and savory, for teachers to celebrate the end of every quarter. It's just for teachers. I come down the hall very loud, and I've got the woo woo going, and the kids know it. They're woo wooing with us. They're celebrating teachers too. I know the teachers love it. I love doing it because it gives me an opportunity to say thank you and appreciate all of the hard work that they do. Other things I do is I regularly show my appreciation. I know how hard they work, and I tell them on a regular basis how appreciative I am of all that they do. I put notes in their mailboxes, birthday cards I send to their house, that type of thing. I try to build trust and capacity in all of the conversations that I have with the teachers. And really, I try to embody a lead learner, because I'm not an expert, and what I try to do is learn next to the teachers. When we're working on an initiative or we're working on some sort of goal, I want them to know that I'm not the expert, but I'm right there in the trenches with them to work through whatever we need to face. So with the attendance goal, by 2020, absences for all students will decrease by 10%. I feel confident that we will meet that as well. What we're doing is we're calling and sending letters home. I have been sending perfect attendance awards and improved attendance awards with the report cards quarterly. We've been doing weekly shout-outs in the morning for classes that have one day of perfect attendance or just one student out, because there's been a lot of sickness. And we did create, with the help of Mike Searcy, a video that really embodies what we're trying to accomplish as far as the culture of low absenteeism in Crosby. So I'm going to play a video for you. I want you to know that Crosby kids are trying to strive for 5 or less absences a year. Understanding that kids get sick, but 5 is the magic number or less. So with that in mind, we created a video that had Crosby kids in it embodying that sentiment. So hopefully I get to play.
Clover,
Yes.
Sophia,
Pleasant.
Brady,
Happy to be here.
Strive for less than 5 days absent. Strive for less than 5. We go to school to learn and grow. The more we're there, the more we know. Strive for less than 5 days absent. Strive for less than 5. Don't miss school, don't fall behind. Stay on track, enrich your mind. Strive for less than 5 days absent. Strive for less than 5. Eat well, exercise, 30 of rest. These are keys to doing your best. Strive for less than 5 days absent. Strive for less than 5.
Do you have any questions for me? Nope. Thank you so much. Hope to see you Friday.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the superintendent's report, we have Mr. Clapper.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy
to be here, and hopefully less than 5 absences, but I did testify first. The high school project is moving along. We have classrooms being turned over after spring break. There's a lot of activity around that. We're cleaning out all the classrooms and all the materials from Tilden Winston because it's going to start coming down. We're going to start abating that right after spring break. So this is a picture of the new nurses area. They're finishing up taping. Half of it's being painted. The guy in the back corner is actually painting. These guys are taping up in front. The bathrooms on the first and second floor have fixtures in them. They're just about wrapped up. Petitions came today. They're going to have petitions done. The flooring's all done. They had it all covered. I didn't get a good picture of it, but all the epoxy floor is done on the floors. All the tile work is done. That's Dylan Bogart. That's our new alarm system. That's both burglar and fire. The fire system is completed. They're putting in devices right now, smoke devices, CO2 detectors, those types of things. And again, this is part of the sprinkler system. The entire sprinkler system was replaced. The pipes were 50 years old. The heads were 50 years old, so everything got replaced. And that door kind of got in this picture, but I just wanted to take a picture of that door because it matches the other doors in the building, and that's a new door compared to an old door. And I don't know what happened to the other picture, but the doors are very, very close. On Gary's side, I somehow, some way, they get that all to work. I truthfully appreciate Gary's work. All the cables have been pulled, and now they're being tested. It's about a 2-week process. They ring out every line to make sure the conductivity of it, and that it's ready to go for every classroom. And again, every classroom has a projector, a computer, all the wonderful things, the phones, all tied to a blue wire sync. In another building, this is Anna Devine. We had a problem with the sprinkler line, and the gym floor was damaged. They started last week. They have the entire floor down. They did the final sand today. They're starting to put a finish on it, and by the end of the week, they'll have it completed, and it'll be ready. It has to sit for a couple of days and let the gym floor harden. So by the middle of next week, the folks at BOCES will be able to use the gym again. And I know that was a very brief thing. There's a lot of things going on in the district, but I also wanted to just leave some time for talking about the concerns about the viruses and those types of things. So Kingston City Schools employs around 75 to 80 cleaners. They're all very dedicated to the sanitary condition of the building and the health and well-being of the staff and the students. We have these 2 units, and I had Camille send you links to that, to your emails. These units are disinfectant units that are green. It's an electrolysis process that breaks down the salts in some way. Maybe Mr. Bosa would know better how that all works. But basically, I'm going to call it magic. Basic, right, magic. It's there. You put water and a tablet into a pot. A light and electrolysis occurs. That attaches to any surface. If I spray it in this room, basically the process is at the end of the day, they do their normal cleaning. They come into a room to make sure all the windows are closed. We're turning off the lights. We spray it around the room, and it actually attracts to any surface. And it attracts in all directions. So if they spray it down, it comes up and attracts underneath, so all surfaces are covered. Currently, we have them in most of our buildings. We've ordered 4 more. We've had these in use for the last 4 years. We were ahead of the curve on this. This was brought to attention from one of our head custodians. We looked into it and we started buying them. The other good thing about it, it's a green product. One of our challenges is that SED does not allow us to use a lot of products. We can't have bleach, we can't have ammonia in school. So our disinfectants are all green and typically based on, I'm trying to think of the word that they're based on, but they're germicidal, but they are not a bleach. And the other thing about these particular units is that their kill power is less than a minute. where chlorine products, you need a contact time of about 10 to 15 minutes for a good kill. Those are in addition to our daily tasks. Every day, every bathroom, every surface is wiped down with a green product, a green disinfectant product. Locker rooms, kitchens, everything's wiped down, the floors are mopped, garbage is emptied, the kitchen area we spend extra time in, bathrooms we spend extra time in. And since this outbreak, we've been developing more protocol to make sure that we cover all the doors where people touch the knobs, touch the door, pushing doors open, those type of things, handrails. And so all the folks in my department are very aware of this. In fact, I got a couple of calls today about different things that we might be able to do. And Dave Inge and I are working on a protocol and a procedure to send out to all the other custodians to do a little bit extra cleaning to make sure that everybody's safe and healthy. I think we're ahead of the curve. I think our buildings are clean. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know that we have any confirmed cases close by. I know there's a couple in Ulster County, but it's just good practice, and hopefully everybody washes their hands. And like I said, we are very diligent and proactive on this, and we're cleaning our buildings thoroughly every day. And that's about it.
So that device, the green device,
Yes.
the spray, that's used, so at the end of the, when a room is finished,
Right.
that's just generally sprayed,
Correct.
and then the cleaner leaves?
That's correct. So I'll just use Bailey as an example. Bailey has a machine, a tank will do about 2,500 square feet. Bailey has 7 sections in it, 7 cleaning sections. In a night, Dave Inge, they'll do their normal cleaning. They'll clean all the toilets, they'll clean all the floors, all the surfaces. And at the end of every night, every custodian in our district goes and makes sure the windows are closed, the lights are off. So as they enter that room, they go in and they walk around the entire room, they spray it, they turn the light off, they shoot the door, and then they go to the next classroom. And at Bailey, the procedure is that they're doing two full sections every night. And so other schools, a school like Myers has a unit. They're probably doing the whole building either every night or every other night.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And again, it's the contact time. It's so rapid, the contact time in these things. That really helps, because a lot of times what happens with a bathroom or something, you use bleach, you get it and then you wipe it off. 2 minutes later you wipe off and it doesn't have the kill ratio.
Several years ago, there was a lot of sickness at Sione. When we were there, and Tom's people came in and sprayed the building for us with one of those misters.
And we've had good success. Probably 2 years ago, Graves had a bunch of a high absentee problem in the winter. We put the unit down there, they sprayed every night for a week. Within a week's time, the students were back, they didn't have a problem the rest of the
So do we have better, lower sickness rates in those
I
buildings
don't-
and lower
I
teacher
don't know.
absenteeism because of that too?
I haven't looked at that.
I mean, that would be kind of interesting.
It would be interesting to see, and because every year there's different viruses out there and there's different sicknesses out there, I don't know how I extrapolate like a trend, because, if...
Right, but if something like this you think is killing that's the
Right.
message I'm getting from you right now, is that that's effective against pretty much anything.
That's correct.
So,
And I don't have any data.
yeah,
but
no, it's just interesting. I wonder if if that could be part of your attendance program. And for teachers too, who, especially in elementary schools, like, kids are germy, so.
Right.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Clapper.
Thank you.
Also, just not on the agenda, but I do want to give you two quick updates. First of all, the budget is still in process. Obviously, we're still waiting for several very important pieces of information. Some health insurance rates is one of them. That's a big driver of budget, and state aid. Obviously, we're trying to get a little handle on. We continue to nibble around the edges. Working at looking what we can do to create efficiencies without really having a huge impact on our students in our programs. We have whittled it down a little bit since last time we were here. We're at about $3.1 million gap still, which is a little larger than we've been at this time in years past. But we've, Ms. Bonville, Dr. Falsello, Mr. Verge, Mr. Olson, and I are working on several different angles. Everyone has their own little assignment of what we're working on to find efficiencies, and I think we're going to keep moving forward. And 2 weeks from now, we'll have a much more thorough report on where we are around the budget for next year. Lastly, I know a lot of you are getting questions from parents and people in the supermarket or wherever, when we're going to know about the calendar, which they always start asking around this time of year. We hope to have the calendar also to you in 2 weeks. I mean, next year is a strange year. And I think that's part of the reason we're getting a lot of questions from parents with Labor Day falling so on the 7th. So it's a full week into September before we get past Labor Day, when traditionally parents and teachers and can think about going to school after Labor Day. Well, it does kind of give us some stress around creating the calendar when it falls like that. But we're pretty much on our way to being complete. Got a few little things to finish up, but we'll have it for you on the 18th. The draft, at least, for the 18th, so parents can start looking at it and making their plans. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the Board of Education. We have a report from Audit and Finance.
Yes, Mr. Shaughnessy. The Audit and Finance Committee met last Tuesday, February 25th, and we had a few items on the agenda. And first of all, going to discuss about the budget status, but Dr. Baldardino gave us the feedback, so I don't need to repeat myself. Thank you. Another thing we had discussed at the meeting was the contract for the external auditor, which is contract expires by the end of the year. And we're going to have to put out an RFP for the new contract, which will probably be going out in the fall. I guess that was all about the meeting. Our next meeting will be in March 24th. I just want to remind everybody that Audit and Finance Committee meeting is open to the public, and everybody's welcome to observe, but will not be able to participate. If they have any questions, they can be answered at the end of the meeting. So we invite the community to attend.
Okay, thank you. And a teaching and learning report?
I'm just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
there's auditor report. We need to move in,
Oh, okay.
the treasurer's report.
Okay. The committee accepted the treasurer's claims report for the month of January of the year, and it's a BOE 48 and claims errors report BOE 49. I would like to move them both as one.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimously approved. Thank you, Mr. Michael.
You're welcome.
So we have a teaching and learning report. We weren't sure that Dr. Jacobowitz was going to be here today.
She's all set.
Mr. Spicer kicked it back to me.
You're relinquishing it, Mr. Spicer?
So I'm actually only going to give half of the report today because I wasn't expecting to be here. I only prepared part of it, which I had given to Mr. Spicer to give to you, and he's now giving back to me. So if we could put TNL back on the agenda for next week, our next meeting, then I'll give a fuller report. But tonight, what I had asked Mr. Spicer to focus on really was just we had a conversation about graduation measures, because that's a meeting that many of us are going to tomorrow to talk with our regent about at BOCES. As you know, the Regents is reviewing graduation requirements, measures for graduation, and they're asking for community input. And so we're going to be going through a meeting tomorrow, and so we thought that we could first have that conversation at TNL, so I'm just going to report on that. So, two things that came out really clearly and that we spoke about a lot at the TNL meeting were really focused on our ELL students. The first was allowing, what we'd like to see in the graduation requirements is allowing a superintendent's determination process for ELL students that's similar to the one that's currently permitted for students with special needs. So as you know, there's a process which superintendents can determine a student with special needs is qualified to graduate. And we would like that same kind of process be able to apply to ELL students. Another thing that we talked about was allowing, and this also refers to ELL students, allowing the NYSSLAT to count as an ELL student's demonstration of language facility in the same way that an ELA Regents counts for an English-speaking student. So those were two very specific things that we talked about. Then we kind of had a more general conversation about the course requirements for graduation, and we seem to be pretty comfortable with what's required for courses for students to take. One thing that we'd like to see a little bit more of is maybe more rigorous civic participation and democracy. But then the conversation focused more on kind of how we would measure, how are we going to measure whether students are eligible for graduation. And we would really like to see more of a focus on alternative credit for alternative experiences like work-based experiences, extracurricular experiences, like ways that students might be able to get credit for those kinds of things. We talked about portfolio assessments and project-based learning and really looking at multiple indicators of student success so that we're not so dependent on the Regents all the time. And then there was a quick conversation about which of the Regents exams would still count for, and I don't know that we really came to any conclusions about that. That's a long conversation. But in the end, what I put together is kind of a list of what that conversation was about and in answering the 5 questions that the SED asked us to consider. Ms. Bonville, I took a lot of your work and put it in here, put some of our conversation in there. So this is a document that we can take with us tomorrow if people who are going to the meeting are kind of interested. These are the TNL thoughts about what we'd like to see in graduation measures going forward.
And that's in our board library?
Is it in the board library?
What you
Will
sent me
be.
today? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it's in the board library.
Oh, and it's being
just one
distributed
page.
as well.
And yes, we got copies, Mr. Spicer, copies. Anything you want to add?
No, you covered it all. Covered it all. Outstanding report.
Are there any questions?
I didn't have a question, but I wanted to say that I told Mr. Shaughnessy that it's already, I attended a seminar or webinar, and I'll forward the link to everybody. So it was on determining college, career, military readiness, and how, and districts. I mean, it was their model. So, but it's worth taking a look at.
Okay,
So
thank you.
I will forward it to everybody.
Great. And at the meeting, we spent a lot of time on looking at Q2 data, and I'll report on that at our next board meeting.
If there's any extra copies there, Mr. Spicer, you can make that available to the public if they'd like it. I think so, it's public. Teaching a lot. Yep. Any questions? Thank you very much, Dr. Jacobowitz and Ms. Bonville, and whomever else contributed to it. It was a very good discussion that we had in teaching and learning last week. So the session tomorrow is from 5 to 7 at BOCES.
Starts at 5?
That started at 4. No, it's at 5.
Was
5.
Okay.
It's at 5?
It is at 5.
I think it's at 5.
Definitely not at 4 o'clock.
5 to 7.
5 to 7.
I have 5.
Yeah, it's 5.
And it's at the New Paltz.
It's at the New Paltz BOCES,
Ulster BOCES in New Paltz,
the
correct.
conference center.
Okay.
Tried to get it here.
Okay. Okay, next item was the consent agenda. Are there any resolutions that any board member would like to have pulled from the consent agenda? I'd like to pull BOE 50. Any other resolutions? Oh, so I guess I should have moved, okay, so we can move this, there's a resolution to move the consent agenda, or a motion to move the
So
consent
moved.
agenda
So,
without,
Second.
Minus BOE.
minus BOE 50. Any questions about any item on the agenda? Dr. Jacobowitz?
I just wanted to point out B48, which is the notice of public hearing of our budget vote, that we're back to our regular voting places. And I also wanted to note, and I guess I have a question about this. This seems to say to me that voting hours are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., right? So we had some conversation about moving them to after school, but we're not doing that.
Moving.
Just the voting hours to like an after school hours, but we're not. doing
No,
that.
we did that last year only because of the location, and we
Okay,
weren't able to do
So we're
it.
going back
Back
to.
to-
We're
the
pretty
way-
much
the way we
going
had it
back
from.
to.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
After last year,
Yeah,
and
no,
the
that was-
feedback we received, we thought the closer we can get back to last year, that's where we want
No,
to be.
I'm really glad that we can move back to this, so.
And back to the same hours, and also back to expanded location.
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, all
To
the-
the each elementary school.
Oh, thank
We have
you.
enough
Okay.
machines this year to
Yeah.
go to each of our
Okay.
elementaries.
Yeah.
And we were open in prior years till 9 p.m.,
Right.
but we didn't really have that many voters, so we just,
No.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad it's open early, I usually go early.
I'm glad the machines are back at Graves.
Yeah, so the hours will be from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And our results will be available an hour earlier, I hope.
Theoretically.
Okay, any other comments? All in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, it's unanimously adopted. Have a motion to consider Resolution BOE 50, which is the trip to Costa Rica.
So moved.
Okay, it's open for discussion. Okay, the discussion on this is the trip by 14 students and chaperones, teachers, parent chaperone, for a trip to Costa Rica over spring break from April 4th to April 20th. April,
it says 4th to 13th.
what did I say?
13.
You said the 20th.
Oh, I'm sorry,
It's okay.
okay. April 4th to April 13th, 2020. So we have concerns about out-of-country travel in this situation with the coronavirus, COVID-19, not really knowing what the situation is going to be 4 and 5 weeks from now. Right now, Costa Rica is not. There's no reported cases of the virus in Costa Rica, but that changes very quickly, and so we have a responsibility to make a prudent decision if we approve this as a school trip, that the board has a responsibility to make a prudent decision about the anticipated safety of a trip like that. So, Mr. Lamb.
My concern is that the fact that we did not have a case in New York State, or in the United States for that matter, 3.5 weeks ago. And the fact that we have a case confirmed in Manhattan and a case in Westchester County, I have great concern that either we will carry that virus to Costa Rica, or someone will get it there and bring it back into our schools for all the other children and teachers that are there.
Mr. Son, it's always very happy to approve that trip for the kids going overseas, seeing the different country, learning about different cultures, and seeing different people. But I'm very concerned about allowing this time to give them the okay to travel because of this coronavirus. And I feel there's a lot of risk. It's a big liability. And the liability to me is our 7,000 students, it's our 1,500 teachers and teachers assistants, and as a whole, the community. And I'd be really hesitating to give okay to travel at this time. So the future is very uncertain. So you never know what is going to happen the next couple of weeks or 4 weeks when they're ready to travel. So I would recommend to put the trip on hold. And I'm holding, for the year. Maybe the kids have an opportunity to do that next year.
I concur with James Michaels. The challenge is it's not just whether any of our students or any members of our community can contract this virus. The entire stress of the environment that it's putting on New York State and our community is a great deal right now to let the children travel away from their families. We have no idea what this community is going to look like in 2 or 3 weeks, and whether these families need their children at home. It's just such a very difficult time to let children travel abroad, be away from their families, be away from their parents, and be away from their community in this extremely stressful time. We have no idea what's going to happen within the next 2 or 3 weeks, but we do know there's going to be increased stress on this community because of everything that's going on. We know the stress is going to increase.
Mrs. Scher?
I know that we've supported this trip in the past, and I'm always in favor of the kids having rich opportunities to experience things off campus and, hands-on. But I think it's kind of a unique situation, and not because I want to press the panic button, but I think faced with a decision about sending our students to another country, even though right now they're not reporting any cases, they have to travel through airports. They're going to be in public transportation. Well, I don't know, maybe they're a charter plane, but they'll be in a plane anyway. We don't know what the pattern is going to be of the spread. They're still trying to figure that out. And I think that faced with this kind of uncertainty, it's my feeling is I would be inclined to err on the side of caution, because I would rather do that than apologize for someone falling ill.
I guess I'm sort of a worrywart. I can foresee all sorts of, a situation where a student is tested positive while in Costa Rica, being quarantined. The entire group might not be allowed to come back on an airline.
For 2 to 4 weeks at least.
If they came back, if anybody that came back, and now fortunately younger people don't seem to be very sick from this virus, but they do carry it. They are contagious, I believe, and I just think it's a big risk, and I think if it were my child going, I think that I would not allow it. And we operate in loco parentis, and so we have that obligation to say whether we consider this a safe trip or not. And I think it's not.
At this point in time.
At this point.
And I agree. I think it's disappointing. It's very disappointing, because I know these are rich and this is a great opportunity. We have supported this in the past. And I just feel like we just don't know. We just don't know. although given what we're seeing in the world, it's spreading, and so I think we can't take that chance.
And the impact it's having on global financial markets.
Well,
This is going to sound really strange, but when that plane lands, we have no idea how much American money is going to be worth. I think there's just too much stress in the world right now to let something that ordinarily we would be much in favor of.
Any other comments?
By the way, to the press, the dollar is strong.
The whole world's been waiting to know this from the board, yes.
I know, can I add something?
Yes.
I know it'll be much disappointing for the kids because they have done some fundraising, they put a lot of work and time and effort into this thing, but I don't know, they see the, canceling the trip for their own health and safety than worrying about the few, dollars they might lose. I mean, as you said, if it was my kid, I wouldn't let it go on. I'd rather lose the $500 I put down payment for this trip, but health and safety is number one. And we're responsible for these kids. This is our job. We're responsible for every student in the community, so the burden is on us. So, as I said, I'm in favor of not allowing this trip to move on.
Okay, if there's no, any other discussion, if there's no other discussion, I'll call the question. So a vote in favor of the resolution would allow the trip to go forward as a district-sponsored event, and a vote against the resolution would be to deny.
Can Camille read what our policy is with this, with a trip, so that it's clear what we're,
I closed it down already. Well, actually.
what our question,
I have to find the policy again.
Mr. Lamb, I'm not unclear what you're asking.
the policy about it being a district trip and what our responsibility is.
Yeah, I mean,
By
without,
voting.
I mean, the policy is pretty clear as far as field trips are concerned. Any field trip that's not approved by the Board of Education, that's going, especially in the overseas trips, is not the Board of Education and is not sponsoring, so they're not liable, it's not providing support, not providing financing of any kind or funding of any kind. So that's really kind of the short version of what the policy says. We have several policies around field trips and around travel, but the bottom line is each one of those policies requires board approval for those trips to take place. So without board approval, it is not a school trip.
Okay. Okay, so all in favor of the resolution, which would be to approve the trip as a school-sponsored activity, please say aye. All opposed? Please say no.
No.
No. So the resolution is unanimously declined. And I feel bad about it, but that's the way, we have to be prudent.
I think we all feel bad about it, but.
Okay, next item on the agenda is old business. Is there any old business? Okay, hearing none. New business? Board member announcements? Mr. Lamb?
I got to go on the NYSUP bus with numerous board members, and I got to tell you how proud I was of our buildings as we went through them, even with our challenges You could feel the learning and the love for the students, like when we were in Chambers. And I'm not an elementary person. I'm a junior high person. And you could just feel it was a family. And what was going on there, you could see the good teaching and good learning that was going on in that building. And Miller, for that matter, also.
Yeah, I think it was a very worthwhile trip, a worthwhile function. So I would thank the Kingston Teachers Federation for sponsoring it and NYSET, and I'm glad that they chose Kingston City School District as one of their stops.
Well, I had some feedback today, and they were very pleased with the visit here.
I think all of the comments from faculty and board members were very well thought out, and Senator Metzger was there. We had representatives from Congressman or Assemblyman Cahill's office, and so hopefully they'll take the message back to Albany that we need more support from the state. So thank you for bringing that up. Any other board announcements? Public participation, another opportunity for public participation. Would any member of the public like to address the board? Okay, hearing none, we have no need for a second executive session that I know of. So I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Adjourned. Our next meeting will be on a
I was waiting.
Wednesday, March 18th.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you were...